and I'm back with another live, and this is kind of somewhat random because I wasn't expecting that I was going to do another live this soon, but I figured we need to talk about the PPP loans and how they were forgiven for wealthy, rich, millionaires, business owners, nonprofits, churches. Oh, and let's not forget Congress, elected officials. You had elected officials and Congress people getting PP loans through the Paycheck Protection Program that was implemented because it was supposed to support entrepreneurs and business owners still being able to meet payroll for their employees. But ironically enough, when you actually see where that paycheck protection money, that paycheck protection program money actually ended up going, it didn't really end up going to the actual employees. In fact, employees were fired and laid off. Yeah, y'all remember that? So let's talk about it. And remember that the PPP loans were forgiven. A lot of people had their loans forgiven. Now let's talk about this. This is what I mean by, so I just want to talk about what it was, right? So PP loan forgiveness. This is crazy, right? Borrowers may be eligible for Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness. All right. So to first draw from the PP loan forgiveness terms, first draw made to eligible borrowers qualify for full loan forgiveness if during the 8 to 24 week covered period following loan disbursements, employees and compensation levels are maintained. The loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and other eligible expenses, and at least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll costs. The second draw for the PP loan forgiveness terms. There's many ways that you can get it forgiven. Okay? If you did this during the following 8 to 24 week covered period, employee and compensation levels are maintained in the same manner as required for the first draw of the PP loan. The loans proceed are spent on payroll costs and other eligible expenses, and at least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll costs. So that is the only real way that you're eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness, the PPP loan, right? But here's what's funny. This is what's hilarious, because I'm about to just go in, right? I'm just about to go all the way in and how ridiculous and hypocritical people can be. So let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? And she's not the only one, okay? She's not. In fact, it's many of them, okay? So anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of the right-wing, Trump supporters, Trump resurrectionists, Trump treasonous group, the right-wing Republican Party, the GOP, the grand old party, they're upset that there was some student loan forgiveness. Now keep in mind, it didn't wipe out all federal student loans, and a lot of people who unfortunately have private loans never got any, support, never got any relief, didn't get any forgiveness, because it's only for federal student loans. And then it was either $10,000 or $20,000 if you received the Pell Grant. So about 20 million plus people had their student loans completely forgiven after yesterday's announcement. Another 45 million plus received additional, received some relief. But again, me speaking personally, I originally, before the student loan forgiveness, I owed $46,150. After the student loan forgiveness, I owe $26,150. So $20,000 was essentially removed from mine, but I still owe $26,150 in student loan debt. And I am eligible for the Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Program. But it's funny because they didn't have to wait 10 years to get their loan forgiven. They were able to get that stuff forgiven the following year. Remember, this was for 2020 into 2021. These people literally got their loans forgiven. And this person, Marjorie Taylor Greene, literally had $183,000 Hear me again. $183,504. 6 figures. Almost heading up to $250,000. Nearly $250,000 forgiven. And this is a congressperson. Aren't you making $174,000 yourself? I just think that's kind of wild, right? So anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican representing Georgia, has criticized Biden's student loan forgiveness and basically saying how it was unfair. But keep in mind, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene company received $183,504. How come that was okay for that to be forgiven? I only owed $46,000 and you got all of yours forgiven and you didn't have to wait 10 years. Not to mention, I don't personally think elected officials, especially at the federal level, should even be eligible for these programs. And I'm going to say it because, again, it should be about people on Main Street receiving assistance, not people that are already wealthy, already rich, already doing well for themselves. And then they're the ones that don't need assistance who get the assistance the vast majority of the time. Isn't that something? Not to mention that many of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's constituents also are a part of the 20 million that got completely had their student loans forgiven, are also a part of the 45 million plus that had some forgiveness. So you didn't want your constituents to get out of debt, Marjorie? Oh, Representative Greene, you didn't want that? Okay, you are a hypocrite, bigoted imbecile. Okay, and again, she's not the only one. You have a lot of these hypocrites. But what was funny about it was the White House Twitter account today was on Twitter. And they kept retweeting the interviews of these hypocritical Republican right-wing GOP Trump resurrectionist, Trump treasonous group. They kept retweeting them. And and then in the same breath, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Democrats, you're also not off the hook. Because if you are publicly acknowledging that you can forgive $183,504 from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican in Georgia, you can forgive damn near $200,000, damn near $250,000 for one person, but you can't take the rest of my debt when I had $46,000. Come on now. Now think about everybody else. Y'all could have gave us more than $10,000 and $20,000. That's my whole point. Okay, and it gets worse than that. It gets worse than that. This is what I mean by, to me, in this day and age, yes, I'm thankful for the $20,000 forgiven, but that's just it. We know you can forgive all of it. Keep in mind, we basically haven't made, student loans have been in deferment for damn near 3 years, y'all. They went into deferment in March of 2020. It is about to be September of 2022. Payments don't technically go back until January 1st, 2023. So if people weren't paying their student loan bills for damn near 3 years, why do you need to reinstate them? Obviously, you could have just went ahead and forgiven them. That's all I'm saying. It's hypocritical to me. Because again, once again, the people who don't need assistance are getting the assistance. Again, the wealthy, the rich, the corporations, elected officials that's sitting up here already getting money from our tax dollars and then taking more of our tax dollars so they can fund their separate side businesses. Y'all don't see how that is janky. But in the same breath, they don't want to give you anything. So let's talk about it. I'm going to keep making these, try to do these as often as I can. So like I said, the White House on Twitter calls out Republicans criticizing student loan forgiveness by highlighting their own loan forgiveness. And you got to admit, that was the most, finally there was some clapback, because that's always been the argument with the Democratic Party, is that you have no backbone. You know what I mean? You're basically weak and pathetic and you let shit slide too much. So this was unique, at least for the social media aspect of it. It was unique to see the White House Twitter account actually hold Republicans accountable and check them on their own hypocrisy. And keep in mind, all of this is public record because it's public funded. Hello, it's our tax dollars through the government that funded the Paycheck Protection Program. So let's go there. So we already talked about Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I want to continue to highlight the hypocrisy, right? Congressman Vern Buchanan is another Republican right-winger, right? Criticizing the student loan forgiveness. Meanwhile, he had over $2.3 million from the PP loan forgave. But in the meantime, couldn't, and you know, I'm talking about me because I'm looking at my shit. Couldn't forgive my $46,000, but could forgive his $2.3 million. And mind you, these are supposed to be business owners. You're supposed to be responsible. Isn't it funny how the business owners who purposely pay us, the employees, poverty pay, and you know, we're always being told how we need to budget better and save better and be more responsible and blah, 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 blah. You should have planned for a rainy day. But these are the same exact business owners, aka employers, who they didn't budget correctly themselves to make sure that they could stay afloat during the pandemic. Yet they thought we as individuals, we don't even make nearly the amount of money they make. Not to mention all of the tax cuts and breaks that they get. Okay, let's just really talk about it. Again, hypocritical. Then we had Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, another one that received $1.4 million in PPP loan forgiveness. Again, it's like everybody forgets what's done in the dark eventually comes to the light. And then what's hilarious about this is, how did you stupid imbeciles think that nobody was going to find this out? You stupid fool. You are an elected official. Not to mention the fact that these are tax dollar funded loans, you idiots. So of course it's going to be public information. But of course, you know, this new crowd of stupidity, they forget that, you know, everybody's not listening to a bunch of rah. Some of us actually have critical thinking skills and can research and can critically think. And it's kind of odd how you're telling us that we're receiving handouts with our tax dollars, but it's not a handout when you get your Paycheck Protection Program loans forgiven. Miss me with the hypocrisy and the double standards. Another congressman, Kevin Hern, had over $1 million forgiven as well. And I just want to read some of the tweets that these hypocritical, treasonous, bigoted imbeciles are saying. Rep. Kevin Hern, to recap, in the last 2 weeks, the party of the people has supercharged the IRS to go after working class Americans, raise their taxes, and force them to pay for other people's college degrees. Now here's the thing. I'm going to do another video on the IRS situation because ultimately it is going to impact working poor, working class, lower income, low to moderate income earners. And I will be talking about it, right? But here's the thing. Did you not just receive $1 million, Kevin? Representative Hern, did you not just have over $1 million forgiven from tax dollars that your constituents work their asses off to get you so you could get your shit forgiven, but they can't get some of their student loans forgiven? And again, keep in mind, all of the private student loan folks, they didn't get any forgiveness. They didn't get any debt student loan relief. And again, think about somebody that got 6 figures worth of student loans. $10,000 ain't gonna do much for them. That basically was interest. Okay, so but yet you were able to get over $1 million. Okay, make it make sense. Let's talk about what Congressman Mark Wayne said. Okay, we do not need farmers, ranchers, small business owners, and teachers in Oklahoma paying the debts of Ivy League lawyers and doctors across the USA. This placed undue burden on those already suffering due to the weight of Biden's failed economic policy. Keep in mind that we went into a pandemic under President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. Also, keep in mind, remember the payroll tax back in 2017 that, again, under President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, their administration, they did the whole payroll tax and how that basically came back to bite everybody in the ass. And now a lot of us that were, low to moderate income, we're paying more in taxes until 2027 because of your good old boy, Donald J. Trump and his administration, because of that pathetic ass payroll tax. But let's blame the current people who weren't in office from 2017 until January of 2021. Not to mention, we basically were already in a recession in 2020. So let's just stop acting like all this is some brand new. Don't get me wrong, the Democrats are full of ish and got a lot of scruples and need to be held accountable, and you know how I am. I'm going to come for you too. Because like I said, keep in mind, President Biden did campaign on forgiving all federal student loans, and all federal student loans have not been forgiven yet. And then it went from that to, well, we can do 50,000. 50,000 was not forgiven. So, and not to mention, what happened to the $2,000 a month? Basically, universal basic income. We were going to get stimulus checks, and what they were supposed to be doing was we were going to get retroactive payments of $2,000 a month, retroactive back to March of 2020. And remember, back in 2020 presidential election, it was all eyes on Georgia, because if we got those 2 Democratic Senate seats, we would be able to get those retroactive payments. We would be able to, do student loan forgiveness and all of these different things. And we have student loans have been forgiven. Again, people who were on SSDI, Social Security Disability Income, literally had their student loans forgiven. My mother had her student loans forgiven. Okay, there's been people who were going to for-profit schools, and there's been all these lawsuits going after them because it's all about predatory lending. But guess what? The federal government was also predatory lending. Okay? Nobody should be graduating with a mortgage payment and no house. Because when you look at how much money these student loan monthly bills were prior to the student loan forgiveness plan from the Biden-Harris administration, I mean, God, I was paying $412 a month at the highest for my student loans. At the lowest, it was $127. So, and I know people who were paying $900, $1,000 and up a month to pay that stuff off. So again, if somebody's barely getting $2,000 a month and you still got, rent, mortgage, food, you got children, you got family, you got gas, you got utilities, you feel me? Homeowners insurance, rental insurance, car insurance, you feel me? Not to mention that on average, your average everyday person who's working in the USA that's low to moderate income, most of us are losing between 20 to 25% of our income in deductions and taxes. So again, and inflation, the cost of living is steady rising. Meanwhile, your money is not going up here. But yet, you got people paying $1,000 a month for student loans. Like I said, people are graduating with a mortgage and no house. You just got a piece of paper. Not to mention, a lot of these jobs do not require degrees in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, in my humble opinion, college is not worth going to for non-technical skills. I hate to say that, but if you're going to be going into massive student loan debt, it needs to be for something that's going to be lucrative. And when you look at a lot of these jobs, they're not technical. And a lot of these jobs would do better with on-the-job training than actually wasting people's times in these classrooms and or putting people into all of this debt for a piece of paper to make $15 an hour, but yet you owe 50, 60, 70, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. It's ridiculous. Okay? It shouldn't be that way. What's going on, Love JJ? What's good? Thank you for tuning in. Sorry, not sorry, but 10K is not forgiveness in my opinion, especially if you have 40,000 plus. Will you preach? Will you preach? Because that's my whole thing. Like, I had $46,150. The highest it got up to was $48,000, a little over. Now, and this is the out cold part. I paid $11,000 off in a year and a half, working my ass off. I only had $2,000 left from my undergraduate student loan debt before I enrolled into my master's program. So in combination, it was $33,000 that I took out, but yet because of interest, it had ballooned all the way up to a little over $48,000. Then I got it back to the 46 under to $46,150. So I agree. It's like, and again, you working your ass off. You literally sitting up with two, because at the time I had 2 jobs, and then I was interning, and then I had a side hustle. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And that was 2014. Like I said, I was a custodian at the school that put me in debt. Ridiculous. And this was after I had already had a bachelor's of arts and sociology with a minor in substance abuse treatment with 2 associate's degrees. And I was a custodian making $7.40 an hour. Typically got anywhere between 25 to 30 hours a week. Then I was interning at the radio station. Then I was also third shift stock for Meyer. It's like a grocery / department store, kind of like Walmart. And then after that, I was working for a nonprofit. That was about 25 to 30 hours. Then I got another part-time nonprofit position. That was about 10 to 15 hours. Then it's just like I said, I was working my ass off to pay that off. And that's just my whole point. Yes, this is live. And then what's going on? Easier said with Meg. What's going on? This is live. Love JJ. If people were earning at least 30 plus an hour, and if cost of living was in a decent place, I think people would accept this low level loan. Thank you. Because that's the whole. It's like, if they really, will you preach? Will you preach? Love JJ 1814, will you preach? Because that's the problem. They don't want to look at the holistic issue of the matter. I mean, going back to what you just said, number one, if we were getting paid the wages and salaries that they lied and told us that we would be getting paid with our degrees, our certifications, our years of experience, we would have been able to pay our student loans off. I mean, again, technically, with a master's degree, I should technically, according to their bullshit, I should be making about $88,000 a year. Instead, I make $40,000 before taxes and deductions. And then after taxes and deductions, I make $28,646 and 32 cents. So how are we supposed to pay student loans, pay rent, pay mortgage, start a family, buy cars, do savings, invest in retirement, stocks and bonds, start a family? How are you supposed to do all of that when you are literally living check to check and basically in poverty? Because again, a lot of us need to be honest. Most of us are one paycheck away or one bad situation away from being homeless. Okay, and people are in denial about that. That's what gets me. Like, I'm sorry, but most people don't have 6 months to a year of emergency saving that they can live off of. They don't have it. I don't have it. You know why? Because we're not paid enough to do any of that, and then we're constantly in debt. It's BS. And you're right. In this day and age, the federal minimum wage, at this day and age, the federal minimum wage should be at least $30 an hour. At least. Because you got to keep in mind, they're taking 20 to 25% of that in taxes and deductions. So you're not even getting the 30. Shit, you're getting about 24, 25 after they done took taxes and deductions. Let's just keep it real. Okay? Dems do not get a pass, and I do not think this will help them during the midterms. I agree. I don't think they should get a pass, but I do think it will help them in midterms because, again, these are state elections. So when you look at the situation with abortion and states that are individually making those legislation, the Democrats are going to get those votes because a lot of people, what is it, over 60% of the USA population supports Roe versus Wade. So you're going to have a lot of Republicans, independents, who are going to vote in the state elections for Democrats and or vote for ballot initiatives that are left-leaning, such as saving abortion rights, reproductive health and freedom for all. So those situations, people are going to vote left-leaning because, again, that's an issue that, again, touches everybody regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of your race, your gender, your sexuality. So in some incidences, it is going to help them. And then, like, for example, in Michigan, under our current governor, Whitmer, our roads are actually getting fixed and have been getting fixed for the past 2 years. We finally have a program set up where if you never had a degree and you're 25 or older, you have the opportunity to get an associate's for free or go to a trade school for free. We didn't have that under a Republican. We had the SARA, the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance, that was able to keep people housed and prevent evictions. And now we got my half that's for the homeowners that's being funded, again, under Whitmer, using federal dollars and allocating it back to the people. And it's being, the My Half program is helping people who are homeowners avoid foreclosure. So there's a lot of programs that individual states have been implemented under Democratic leadership that we did not have under Republicans. So that's where I disagree on the midterm piece. People are going to turn out for the people that they support and also for things that they support. And a lot of these Republicans, not to mention the midterm, the August primaries in Michigan, Republicans were voting for who? Whitmer. They voted for her 2 times more than they voted for the Republican Tudor. So it's little things like that where I'm like, okay, now, can't speak for everybody's state, can't speak for everybody's race, election race. So, but I do agree, the Democrats are not off the chopping block, and they need to be held accountable. Because like I said, if y'all can forgive PPP loans, y'all could have forgave everybody's student loans, including the private loans. And not to mention, let's be honest, under President Biden, they just okayed another $3 billion to be sent to Ukraine. But yet, here go $10,000 for you, here go $20,000 for you. But we can give $3 billion to a foreign country. But we can't do nothing for our own citizens. Not to mention the fact that we're giving Israel basically $10 billion a year from our tax dollars to fund them. So they can go and commit crimes against humanity and genocide against the Palestinian people and Palestine. Free Palestine. And it's crazy how, again, the American and Western media, they can highlight everything that's going on in Ukraine, but they're not going to show you what's going on in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, in Palestine. They're not going to show you what's going on in Yemen. They're not going to show you what's going on in the global South. They're not going to highlight any of that horrible things going on, but they're going to make us all have this emotional connection to what's going on in Ukraine. And don't get me wrong, what's going on in Ukraine is horrible. It's wrong. But guess what? What's going on in Palestine and Gaza is wrong. What's going on in Yemen is wrong. All these drones dropping and bombing on innocent people across the globe that the U.S. government is telling, is supporting and funding is wrong. So and then also acting like Russia. This is what also gets me about the USA government, Democrat, Republican, what have you. Everybody's talking about how with the Russian oligarchies, as if we don't have American oligarchies. I mean, if you haven't noticed, the rich, the wealthy, they own and operate everything, and it's the same damn families. I mean, what the hell is a Carnegie, a Rockefeller? Okay? Let's be real, the Trumps, okay? You know, and if we're gonna name it down, the McConnells, the Pelosi's, the Bidens. I'm just gonna keep it real. These people are oligarchies. But it's just funny how they, you know, everybody wants to, they're the bad ones, they're the bad ones. Meanwhile, they're doing the same shit. It's crazy. And it's right in our face. It's right in our face. That's what gets me. It's like, you know, back in the day, when we didn't have social media, you didn't have all of this information right at your fingertips. When we didn't have the internet and you didn't have Wi-Fi and high-speed internet, etc., smartphones, and keep in mind, there's still people in this country and around this world who don't have access to the internet, don't have access to Wi-Fi, don't have access to social media, don't have access to computers. So there's a lot of people who don't even have that access. Yet, we want to talk about how wealthy we are as a country while keeping everybody impoverished. Yeah, I just, you know, and then think about how America and a lot of these Western civilizations are bankrupting other countries. And I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, you know, I just can't. I can't, you know. I just can't. But I agree. Easier said with Meg. Band-aids on bull crap. Exactly. And like I said, don't get me wrong. Yes, I'm thankful for the $20,000 forgiven, but I still owe $26,000. Okay? And there's people who, like I said, got $100,000 plus in student loans. What is $10,000 or $20,000 going to really do for them? You know what I mean? Now, they do have other programs, like I said. Easier said with Meg, you should look into the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program if you haven't already done so. Because those of us that are in nonprofits, teachers, military, even the police officers, firefighters, if you work for local, state government, etc., you are eligible for the Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Plan. They also have capped undergraduate federal student loans to where you only have to pay 5% of your discretionary income. So that they're doing that, and they're also making it where if you make consistent payments, even if it's zero because it's based off of your income driven, they won't accrue interest. So they are making steps to address the predatory lending. However, I still agree all student loans, whether it's public or private, should be forgiven. If you can forgive elected officials $2.3 million for their businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program loan, then you could have forgave everybody's student loans. If you can constantly give billions of dollars to Ukraine, and you can sit up and give $10 billion a year to Israel, and you can constantly give tax cuts and breaks for all the corporations and the businesses, then guess what? You can forgive our student loans. And I'm going to even go even further than that. You can forgive student loans. You can forgive credit card debt. You can forgive medical debt. You can forgive a lot of things, considering that we're the ones that's paying the taxes. And I think we should have a say-so on where our tax money goes and how it should be benefiting us. It should be benefiting us, our families, our communities, our cities, our states, our counties, our society. And we should have a say-so. I'm just saying, you're the one working your ass off 40 or more hours a week to lose 20 to 25% of your damn income. Don't you think you should have a say-so on where that 20 to 25% of your income is going? I mean, shit, I'm basically losing $12,000 a year. I think I should have a say-so on where the hell that money is going and how it's allocated. And it should be benefiting me. Shit. It's just time for us to keep it real. Who is really going to feel them impact of the 10? Now, there was 20 million plus people who literally had their student loans wiped off yesterday from that 10 to that 20. So there are people, but it's like you said, we got, of course, I don't know what the number is now. I think we have 1.6 trillion in total student loan debt. I don't know what that number is now. It might still be at least 1 trillion. Because like you said, 10 to 20,000 is basically a drop in the bucket when you got 1.6 trillion of student loans. So I agree. It does need to be better. We need to demand more. And again, we need to call out the hypocrisy. I agree. This country is not taking care of its people. Poverty and homelessness is at an all-time high. America is as sly as a fox and a master manipulator. We are all being bamboozled. I agree. I just feel like everything, like you said, has been smoke and mirrors. One big ass lie. One big ass facade. Just nothing but propaganda. Because again, a lot of us, if we knew what we knew today, there's no way in hell I would have went to college 12 years ago. I'm going to just keep it real. At the bare minimum, I would have got my associate's degrees because I got those for free. I had a full ride scholarship. And then I also had Pell Grant to assist with books and other, fees and costs. Because the scholarship only covered tuition. So you still got other... those of us that's been in college know you got books, food, you need to get your... you might need to get a laptop. Sometimes classes will have 4 and 5 books for one class. If you in science and math, it's certain calculators you got to get. Then when you take exams, some of the exams, you can't just get the regular Scantron. You got to get a blue book because it's an essay style. It's all kinds of different fees and mess that don't make sense. And then if you staying on campus, honey, room and board is a separate price. That's a whole nother thing. I didn't go to anywhere that I stayed on campus. I went to a community college, and then I went to a local public university extension campus. So I was telling myself, I'm not going to go into a bunch of debt because I'm doing blah, 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 blah. And I still ended up going damn near $50,000 in debt. And that's with scholarships. That's with grants. That's with paying out of pocket. Shit, it's sad. It's sad. But like I said, we were sold propaganda on, well, if you go to college, you're going to be able to be middle class. You don't want to be, and this is classist and very offensive. But they literally would say shit, like I said, trigger warning, this is classist and very offensive. Trigger warning. But they would literally sit up and tell us, if you don't want to flip burgers, you better go to college. And I'm sitting in the back like, we flipping burgers, we washing cars, we at the gas station, we everywhere trying to make ends meet. And then it's classist because at the end of the day, the person at the fast food restaurant is serving you, is cooking you a meal, is providing a service, is providing labor, is sacrificing their life. They deserve to be paid living wages too. They shouldn't be disrespected and looked down upon, because the very same people that want to disrespect the McDonald's worker, the Walmart employee, are the very same people that were throwing straight bitch fits because McDonald's is closed early because there's not enough employees. Again, what's really going on, y'all? I can't do it. I just don't. Like, come on. And like you said, it's propaganda. Hey, tell Samira what's going on. And you already know. We talk about this. Our student loans, everybody getting masters and PhDs. That's another thing. They literally told everybody in certain fields, well, you're going to have to get your masters if you want to get a decent paying job in this field. Child, I got 9 years of direct experience in my field with a master's degree, and I don't even make $50,000 a year. But yet I was, this was supposed to be the route. Again, this is the propaganda and the BS that was fed and force-fed to us. I mean, shit, everything from the school teachers to parents, to guidance counselors, to the television. I went on the internet and found out education connection. Remember all that BS? And homeboy with DeVry, ITT Tech, all these for-profit places that were scandalous and scamming people out of money. Yes, we were force-fed that propaganda. And a lot of us, like I said, if we would have known what we knew today, a lot of us would have never went to college. And I can pretty much guarantee you that. Because it's not worth it. There's no return on investment for the vast majority of these damn degrees. I'm just keeping it real. You sitting up busting your ass off to get 4.0s, to get scholarships. You interning. You join the student-led organizations. You doing all of this shit while working. A lot of us got families that we still got to look after and take care of. People got kids. All kinds of stuff is going on. With the promise that, you know what? I'm going to be able to get a piece of this American pie. Child, it's a shit pie full of feces. It's horrible. You don't want this American pie. Okay? You don't. Oh my goodness. Vibey. I applied for the public service loan and I worked for a nonprofit organization and they still said my loans did not qualify. I had those loans for 12 years. See, that's that bull. That's that bull. And thank you for sharing your experience, because I have another colleague or former colleague, we're still in touch. They had the same situation basically. They've been paying on their loans for 10 years. They submitted over 100 payments. And you know how, again, on the public service, on your portal, basically, it'll tell you which payments are getting accepted. They still waiting for another 60 payments to go through. And they submitted that shit months ago, and it's still It's 5 have been accepted, pending the other 60 plus. It's ridiculous. And that's what I'm saying. It's so much red tape and bureaucracy that shouldn't exist. It should just be, hey, as far as I'm concerned, those of us that are working in public service, we shouldn't have to pay student loans anyways. You want to know why? Public service jobs tend to be the lowest paying jobs in the first damn place. So why are we paying student loan debt when we're providing a public service? Make it make sense. And then you purposely pay us the lowest wages and salaries in these public service style positions. Teachers don't make a lot of money, y'all. Those of us that's in human and social services, case managers, and as much as I don't really care for the police setup, I don't, but the police officers don't even make a lot of money either. The firefighters don't make a lot of money. Again, a lot of people that are in these public service don't make a lot of money. And that facts, you have nurses who do not make a lot of money. And then you also have nurses that I personally know that are traveling nurses and they're making over 6 figures. So I guess it depends on what type of nursing you're doing. And I also think it depends on your gender. Because let's be real, the people that keep bragging about the amount of money that they're making are who? Men. It's the male nurses and that I personally know who are bragging about the money. Meanwhile, a lot of the women are not making the same amount of money as the men. And I mean, sexism is still alive, unfortunately. And what's ironic is nursing was historically what women did. But the minute men entered, all of a sudden, they can make 6 figures, but the women nurses aren't making 6 figures. It is something. And it's also the same thing with male teachers. They can make a lot more money than the women teachers. It's really full of shit. Because it's the same job, so it should be equal pay. But that's what I'm talking about. That is wrong. You deserve to make well over 40,000. You deserve to make 6 figures. Shit. And that's another thing. Again, the US government keeps telling on themselves. So keep in mind, they said one person can make up to $125,000 and get the federal student loan forgiveness. A joint married couple that's married can make up to $250,000 together and get student loan forgiveness for federal student loans. If they're saying that $125,000 for one person is middle class and $250,000 for 2 people is middle class, then obviously the $40,000 that I'm making for one person, this ain't even near middle class. This is literally poverty. I mean, it's just time for us to keep it real. A lot of us are working poor, working class, and low income. And it's just sad. And then what gets me is you have people literally on Twitter talking about, well, how they make over $400,000 and yet they're still struggling out here because of the inflation and cost of living. So just think about how difficult it is for us when we're not even making 50, let alone 6 figures. You know what I mean? Think about it. 40K for a nurse, that's disgusting. Nurses, like teachers, are worked like dogs. It's disgusting. I mean, we are working our asses off. We are sacrificing our lives. You're out in the public. You're in the hospital. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. So true. I would wonder how much most people are making out here. Well, there is and I'm going to put some information in the description box below, but they were basically saying that for the average black person in the USA, 95%, that's what they're saying. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, so I'm going to do some more research because you know me, I have to have data to back up what I'm saying. But there are people saying that 95% of black people in the USA don't make $75,000 a year. And I believe it because I look at my own community. In my hometown, 40 or a little over 40% of the area of the population are in poverty and at the poverty line or below the poverty line. Most of my friends do not make $15 an hour. I should say not most, but some of my friends don't make $15 an hour. After taxes and deductions, I don't make $15 an hour. I make $14.92 an hour. And then I also have friends that do make $80,000 and up. But they're mostly not black. And then the blacks that do, they live in very key locations and they're in very specific fields. So it's like, and then when you look at the average American, it's probably around the same setup, maybe a little higher, but that's something to think about. Melanated people make 3 times less than Caucasians overall. And then preach on it, Love JJ. Preach on it because, and not only that, thank you for adding that. Thank you for giving us that information. On top of that, or I should say in addition to, because of slavery, Jim Crow, apartheid, oppression, racism, if you're black and your descendants were enslaved, we done had centuries of wealth and opportunity stolen from us. So we are centuries behind the average white person, white family in the USA. We're literally centuries behind. In fact, a lot of the black wealth that we see today came about during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So you basically had 20 years of wealth from the baby boomer blacks from down south who were able to migrate to the north and to the east and to the west. They were the ones that were able to finally get some leg room. But mind you, it wasn't all of them. You still had a lot of impoverished people. So it's like you said, we are owed reparations. We are very much owed reparations. We literally built this country. Our ancestors built this country on the backs. And until this day, we are building this country. We the ones working. When you sit up and you look at COVID-19 and this ongoing pandemic, most of your essential workers that were on the frontline workers were black and brown and poor and working class people. Working class, low to moderate income people. Ain't nothing changed. Reparations now, tell Samira. Yes, hashtag reparations now. What comes with some social service jobs is possible physical violence. Will you preach? Traveling to client homes. Will you preach? Transporting clients. Fear of taking home bed bugs, roaches, COVID-19, coronavirus, monkeypox. You ain't lying. You ain't lying because that's the you never know. Last week, we had a client come to the office. They were supposed to be making a payment. And another one of our colleagues kindly asked them, is that your car? Because they were parked in a handicapped parking space. And we have a lot of clients who have mobility impairment, and then we also have a lot of elderly clients as well. And the client was like, basically went into a whole argument, started cussing and yelling, really was trying to throw down. And that's what I'm talking about by, it's like what you said. We be facing absolute crazy mess. Any given time, somebody come in here and shoot up everybody. You feel me? For $40,000 or less. We ain't getting paid shit to risk our lives. It's ridiculous. Caucasian males who do not have a college degree make more than a melanated person with a college degree in a professional sector. I see it every day, Love JJ. I see it every damn day. You will see somebody, no college education, which again, to me, college educated, certificate or not, you deserve a living wage, point blank period. But I agree where you're coming from. You know, you want to talk about the value of an education, but then you'll turn around and pay David $30 an hour. No education. But then somebody with a college degree, black, and I'm making $14.92 an hour. And it is. It's a slap in the face. I mean, it is what it is. You know, and to sit up here and make it seem like this shit is not okay. It's ridiculous. Racism, classism, and just injustice left and right, oppression left and right. Erica Alexander was talking about getting the reparations bill in motion. I hope so. Honestly, I hope so as well. And I'm going to say this because it's about to be almost an hour. I'm going to say this as well. We have to stay on their necks. We have to stay on them like white on rice. We have to be consistent. Okay? Because if you notice, the minute you start, forgetting or another chaotic situation happens or another mass shooting, you know how everything just gets, because they're constantly throwing hellfire at us to keep us on edge and to get people forgetting about what's going on. We have to stay consistent. We have to stay active. We have to keep pushing for reparations, keep pushing for full student loan debt forgiveness, keep pushing for a higher federal minimum wage. In my opinion, the federal minimum wage should be at least $30 an hour in 2022. The last time the federal minimum wage was increased was July 24th, 2009. And it got increased to $7.25. That means for the past 13 damn years, the federal minimum wage in the United States of America, with the 3 Ks, has been $7.25 an hour. And you know damn well when rent is $1,000+ a month, damn near all over the USA, what is $7.25 on the federal minimum wage going to do for somebody? Okay, and then we need reparations. We need universal health care. We need universal basic income. People that's on SSI, SSDI, they should be getting at least $2,500 a month. This sitting up here, they not even getting $1,000 a month. How are they supposed to live? It's just ridiculous. And the thing is, if the federal minimum wage went up, states would have to meet that and or go up above that. And then jobs and corporations and employers would have to meet that or go above that. You see what I'm talking about? And this is the problem when people want to talk about, oh, I don't want the folks at McDonald's getting paid, blah, blah, blah. The folks at McDonald's, Walmart deserve $30 an hour. They are providing a service for you. You don't want to cook today. If that's the case, then stop going to the damn fast food places since you don't think they have any value. Because obviously they're valuable as hell. Because everybody and their damn mama is either going to KFC, that stinking ass Chick-fil-A, that Wendy's, that McDonald's, that Walmart, that gas station. Shit. And a lot of y'all got kids going to school. The teachers should be making 6 figures. A lot of people should be making 6 figures. Let's just keep it real. Should nobody have to work 2 and 3 jobs and have 2 and 3 side hustles and then also be donating plasma or giving up plasma to pay bills, to barely make ends meet? Nobody should have to go through all of that. Nobody should have to be homeless. I don't know many people who are able to save for retirement these days. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. And this is crazy, right? In my current position, I teach financial literacy, and I talk a lot about retirement and savings and investment. And even though I teach it, I don't make enough money to do that. Because if I was to give an additional 3% of my income to put into a retirement, I'm already losing 22.4% of my income. And like I said, the average person loses 20 to 25. I lose 22.4%. So I would go up to 25.4% if I was to do the 3% for my retirement through my job. And my job will match the up to 3%. But with inflation, cost of living, already losing 22.4%, basically losing $1,000 a month. Add an additional 3%, I'm about to do the math. That's why I really think it's really time for us to all start looking at the taxes and deductions and looking at how much money is removed from your income, your paychecks. Whether you're getting paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, monthly. Look at how much you're paying in taxes and deductions. And then also start calculating how much taxes that you're paying for sales tax, gas tax, etc. Because we pay tax, property tax. I'm paying $300. I have to pay $287 for summer property taxes. 102 to consumers energy for the utilities. Okay, electricity and gas. 74 to Xfinity for high-speed internet. 143 to Verizon for my phone. Okay. I gave 50 to my student loans, 50 to my credit card, and I give myself 50 back to my savings account if I can. Then keep in mind, still got to get groceries. Still got you got homeowners insurance, renters insurance, car insurance. Still got to pay my life insurance. Still got to make sure that my mom and granny are good. Got my dogs, got my god kids. Again, a lot. So you start thinking, where is this other 3% going to come from? Because you already I'm barely making $1,000 every 2 weeks. I get $1,193 every 2 weeks bi-weekly. And you think I'm about to give up another 3%? So I totally agree where you're coming from. It's ridiculous. The future, in my eyes, involves people creating villages, whether in the concrete jungle or land. It's getting real for hundreds of millions of people. Yes, I agree with you. I feel like we need to get back to group economics, group living quarters. And again, you could literally buy up a bunch of houses through your state land banks, your county land banks, your city land banks. You can buy them up and renovate them together and create basically a planned community. You feel me? Where everybody chips in together for bills. And you could still have privacy. You could still have private quarters, but you would have communal living. And hopefully you would do it with well-sounded individuals. Because obviously, everybody can't live in the community. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to live with the sexist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, classist, bigots. I'm not trying to live with people who don't think, who are, sexual predators. Obviously, everybody can't live in the community with you. But if you can get well-sounded folks that's on the same page as you, communal living would make a lot of sense right about now. Because think about it, especially with these phone bill plans. If you had a family plan, and it don't have to be somebody that's blood related, but if you had good sounded people, y'all could be on the same plan and everybody could have the best phone or something of quality with a decent plan, and everybody could be paying $60 per phone or less if everybody was on the same plan. So it's things like that. We all got to start thinking about that. Food. That's another thing. If you got people that can grow, like I do, I grow crops. So like veggies, all of that, you're going to come together now, for real. I think that's going to happen. Good idea. Honestly, I'm with all of y'all on that. But it's been an hour. Thank you all for tuning in and sharing your perspectives, your lived experiences, and your ideas and your opinions. Information will be in the description box below. Links, articles, journals, data, statistics, all of that will be in the description box below after this is edited and made public and posted. And as always, I always encourage you do your own research. You know, critically think, read, look at some videos, look at some podcasts, you know, look at some journals, look at some articles, do your own independent investigation and research. And of course, if you got information that you would like to share, please do. Drop those links and articles or your opinions and perspectives. And thank you all for tuning in. But back to what the gist of all of this is, again, if they can forgive PP loans to wealthy business owners, millionaires, elected officials, okay? If they can give $3 billion, and it seems like every other month they're allocating additional billions of dollars to Ukraine. If they can give $10 billion a year to Israel, if they can do all of this for everybody else, especially for the rich and the wealthy and the corporations and everything, then why can't they forgive our student loans? Why can't they forgive medical debt? Why can't they forgive credit card debt? Why can't they provide affordable housing? Why can't they provide free housing and shelter? It's time to start asking. And again, if you can do this, I highly suggest it. Calculate how much you make every month. Multiply that by 20 or 25% or however, between 20 and 25%. Multiply how much you get by 20 to 25%. And that is exactly how much you are giving in taxes and deductions, whether that's the federal government, your state government, your municipalities, your cities, your townships, your villages, and then of course deductions like paying for your own health care, like paying for short-term disability, things that were once benefits that were funded by the employer, but now for some reason it's on you, while they're also not paying you shit, while we're still losing 20-25%. That's how much money that you're losing. Now take that number and subtract it from your monthly income. Now you tell me, don't you think if you losing that much money a month, you should have a say-so on how that money is spent, how it's allocated, and don't you think it should benefit you? That's all I'm saying. And again, I'm for all student loan forgiveness. I'm for all debt cancellation in general. Why would you want people to be in debt? And then you see people are struggling. More, and like you said, Love JJ, more people are becoming homeless. More people are losing their homes. More people are struggling to make ends meet every day. And this has always been an issue. So if the USA is supposed to be this great place, and it's always this make America great again, first of all, when was America ever great? It was great when it was the natives. When the Native Americans and the indigenous people were living here before Christopher Columbus came here and effed up everything, that's when it was a great place. But it ain't been a great place since 1492, so I don't even know why y'all keep saying let's make it great again. It was never great. But okay, if we want to live up to the bullshit, if we want to live up to making America great first, then we shouldn't want anybody living here to be in debt. We shouldn't want anybody living here to be impoverished. We shouldn't want anybody living here not to have health care. We shouldn't want anybody living here to be homeless. Okay? And then what's crazy is y'all always own this American first, but yet you will send billions of dollars to everywhere else but the Americans that are here. So I just think it's just a lot of hypocrisy and double standards and blatant oppression. you know, and so many isms that are at play here. But going into 65 minutes, so I'm going to end it here. And I appreciate all of you joining me tonight for this live stream. And thank you all, and I'm out of here.